Just want to let you lot know that if you're watching this clip on the Fozcast YouTube channel, the full episode is now available to watch exclusively on Spotify, and it's free. Come on. Right, John, the season, well, at the time of recording anyway, is about a week and a half old, okay? The season just finished. Talk to me about that final day and the roller coaster of emotions of it all.
Yeah, still very raw, to be fair. It's a horrible feeling. Like I've been relegated before, but without sounding big-headed, from the Premier League. So, you sort of know you've got half a chance of then getting back to there. To then get relegated from the Championship was a big blow. And we did what we needed to do effectively on the last day, but then 3 other teams did the same thing as well. And I think you could probably replay that day 4 or 5 times and it wouldn't happen again.
Yeah.
But look, like I said, after the game, straight after, the damage was done before that game. That game was going to take care of itself. And unfortunately, we didn't do enough over the course of 46 games to make sure we stayed in the league.
I think we'll rewind it back in a minute. We'll talk about the season as a whole. Obviously, I'm a bit of a Blues fan myself. Obviously, played for the club. Got a real kind of affinity with it. With 3 games to go, obviously still got to play Rotherham, Huddersfield, and then the final day of the season. Obviously, the final day is going to be a tough one, but it was those previous 2 games, the Rotherham and the Huddersfield, I was thinking, surely now you've got to do it. And I think as well, a lot of Blues fans would say, listen, if we're not going to be taking 6 points from them 2 games, then we've got to look ourselves in the mirror, haven't we, and go, we haven't been good enough.
Even 4 points.
Yeah.
I said it before, I think we were the only team in the league that didn't score against Rotherham this season.
Wow.
And when you look at it like that, and you look at a stat like that, and you're like, that says what you need, what the problem was. We didn't take our opportunities when they came. We had Coventry before that, and they had one eye on the FA Cup semi-final, but we turned them over.
Yeah, incredible. I watched that game.
We won 3-0.
Blues were incredible.
And we cruised it.
Yeah.
Week before that, in the midweek, we lost to Cardiff at home 1-0. Cardiff had nothing to play for. You could tell, if you'd have offered Cardiff a draw at half time, they would have gone, yeah, no problem, we'll jump back on the bus. And we couldn't capitalise on that. And then again, like you say, Rotherham, you go there 0-0. Did we create a lot? Not really. Huddersfield, again, we give ourselves a real good chance by scoring an early goal, come out at the second half, concede a ridiculous goal from in the first 2 minutes, and then you're always then chasing. And obviously, Huddersfield, to be fair, never really came at us, but they had opportunities right towards the end because they put us under pressure. They were good at what they did, and we never capitalised on it. And that's the most disappointing thing. Like I say, when you look over the course of the season where you think you could have picked up more points, it's those type of games that everyone talks about, mini leagues within a league. And we didn't do enough in our mini league. Simple as that.
What's it like when you're playing for a team that's struggling and you're spending most of the season sort of down there in that relegation dogfight? What's it like, the atmosphere around the football club? Because I think everybody has this sort of image of a footballer, don't they, Tom, where it's like it's all shiny and it's glossy and you get the best job in the world. But when you're in that relegation dogfight, it takes over your world, doesn't it? It consumes everything.
It's horrible. It is horrible because ultimately you're failing at your profession. And that's how I look at it as a person. First and foremost, after every single game, I look at my performance and say, right, what could I have done better? I concede a goal, and I say, and you can ask Neil and Mike, every game or every goal I concede, do you think I could have done better on that? Even if there's no chance, but I need to know in my own mind, I've covered, and I've done what I could have done. So when you're down there and things are going tough, you need big characters.
Accountability,
responsibility, but big characters to pull you through. And we had a lot of experienced players, but those experienced players weren't being relied on. They weren't being asked to bring the group together. A lot of them throughout the season were being segregated, and it wasn't through any fault of their own necessarily. And then you're bringing in players who on paper are good players, but also haven't had that experience and aren't robust mentally to deal with those situations. And then you have just a conflict of characters throughout the whole season. And that is ultimately what ends up tripping you up. You haven't got enough what I call men on the pitch to drag people through.
This is This is fascinating, this bit, because I'm a massive kind of advocate of it doesn't matter how good a footballer you are. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. When you're thrust into that situation where it really counts and the pressure's really on, that's where you really start to see the best or the worst of people, don't you?
Yeah.
And when you're in that relegation fight, honestly, mate, you can see a different side of people. You really can.
You've
see
said,
a
haven't
different
you,
side.
Ben? It's kind of in the past when you've been down there in dogfights that you see people's true colours. And as you said, John, you need those men, those leaders on the pitch. And ironically, it was Wayne Rooney this week talking about United, wasn't he? And saying some of these players are kind of going missing.
Happy to be injured.
Little niggle, not playing. Is that what it's been like in your experience, Fozzie?
That's what again, we're not going back to, but I don't know whether that's happened at Blues, but I've seen it when you're in that relegation dogfight. Again, I've been relegated 4 or 5 times, John, and it's never nice. It's always a bad experience, but you see the players that are up for it, and there's not many of them. There really isn't.
Yeah, and the biggest issue for me, and I'm not saying anything that I hadn't said in the changing room, you know, there was a lot of delusion, and not just in the changing room, throughout the club, about where people see themselves. And I said it. We played Millwall away. We lost 1-0, conceded last minute. And I said in the changing room after that game, you need to realise, or we need to realise as a group, the situation we're in. Because I think at the time we maybe had 8 games left. This was just before Gary came in. So 8 games. We need to realise as a group where we are. You do not want a relegation on your CV. My career is almost done. You know, I've got a couple of years left, hopefully. But I don't want a relegation on my CV because I've got personal and professional pride. Some of the people in the changing room didn't understand that we are that close from being relegated. And it probably wasn't until you go into the last game needing to win that people go, actually, yeah, we're in the and you're like, this has been coming. A lot of people could see this coming a long way off. And that shift of going, no, we'll be all right. No, we won't be, because we've got 8 games left, and I'm telling you, we are in and people still aren't realising that until it's too late. And
as you get drawing towards the end of the season, a lot of teams, obviously Premier League, Championship, will have clauses in the contract where there's pay cuts, but I'm guessing a team like Blues, there's lots of out-of-contract players. So, but for the ones that with contracts going into next season, will there be pay cuts involved here?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah, but then obviously it depends what motivates you, whether it's a financial implication or it's, like I said, it's a pride thing. You know, you don't want to be associated with a club like Birmingham, who, by the way, probably should have been relegated in one of the numerous 8 seasons before. Yeah. You don't want to be part of that team that gets that club relegated because it's a massive club. And this season was a real stepping stone in terms of the ownership shift and the change in mentality of them bringing in the ideas and the vision that they've got for the football club and the city as a whole. You know, it was a massive year for us, and to be associated with that is so, honestly, like it hurts me still. And you know, like I said, it's from a pride point of view more than anything. But this season has been one of the most difficult for me as a professional.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed this clip of the Fozcast. If you would like to watch the full episode, it is now available exclusively on Spotify for free.